Hey, U.S. history students, last time we looked at school integration, right? Thanks to Brown v. Board of Education, the Supreme Court case in the 1950s. Now we want to look at a specific group because integration does not happen overnight, right? It actually takes a lot of enforcement in a number of places to get integration to actually happen. We'll talk about why that is in just a second here. So a group to be familiar with, and I'll have two links in the description that will kind of go through some perspective in terms of these 9 individuals, actually interview them in one, and one's more of an overview. And so this group of 9 African-American students is going to integrate a high school called Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957. They show up to the first day, right, to integrate this white school, and the governor has barricaded and blocked the students from actually entering with Arkansas Guard troops. And so quite the first day of school, to say the least. They're not allowed in, and now the U.S. government has an issue, right? We've ordered with the Supreme Court case integration to happen. Now a state has basically denied that, and the state's argument was it was too dangerous, right? There was going to be riots or something, they argued. Now, the Supreme Court was very vague in terms of how quickly integration had to happen. They used the phrase all deliberate speed. Well, what does that mean, right? Is that a month? A year? We're 3 years out. Is it 10 years? What's deliberate speed? And so there was no set timeline. And so the vagueness kind of didn't help the situation either. And so ultimately, to kind of get this school integrated, President Eisenhower, who is a military guy, obviously from World War II, will use the National Guard and actually some of the 101st Airborne, right? That same division, not the same guys, because we're talking over a decade later, who parachuted into Normandy, right, against Nazis, are now marching kids around, like you can see in the picture there, integrating schools and actually escorting them from hour to hour and class to class. And so the national government tells the states, no, this is not like optional, right? You are integrating your schools. And so eventually Little Rock, other places are integrated, but it took military force, or at least a military presence is probably a better way to say it, to actually get that to happen. And eventually, because of those kind of things, right, the Civil Rights Act of 1957 gets passed, and the U.S. Attorney General, the person in charge of laws and law enforcement, has jurisdiction or authority over public schools, and so can enforce southern states and southern communities to integrate, whether they want to or not, and they will use the National Guard and the military to do so if you're not willing to. We'll look at the more radical civil rights as we move forward here in the next couple of videos with people like Malcolm X and other individuals in groups. So stay tuned. Make sure you check the links in the description, because I think you'll find both of those clips, one of them more of like an informative history thing that's about 5 minutes, and one of them actually from the Oprah Winfrey show, where she brought some of these Little Rock 9 back to the show to actually confront and kind of make amends really with some of the white students who had tormented them when they were in high school. So make sure to check those two out. Otherwise, see you next time.